Here we go. Let's see if this works. Should work. Perfect. Check, check, check. Can you hear me now? What's up, guys? Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another live stream. Doing something a little different today by request. Had a lot of people, especially in the last 2 or 3 weeks, send me emails, and even over in the Dropbox I had a couple. When was I going to do a live stream? Just a Q&A about different things and stuff like that. So here we go. Sorry about that. There we go. Hey, what's up, everybody? Sound good? Doing something different today. What's up with y'all? Sound good? We're using a different one right here. See it? Different mic today because people in the past have been raising Cain with me about the microphone. So hopefully it is sounding good. Okay, guys, in this video today, what we're going to talk about is the possibility of the sun shedding a layer. We're going to talk about other things besides that, whatever you want to talk about. This is basically going to be up to you. What you want to talk about, how active you are in the super chat, light that super chat up. Send me your questions in the super chat, and I'll do my best to give you an honest answer, very honest answer. Let me get a drink here of my slurp juice. My wife makes these, they're kind of like, well, they are. They're like a very popular coffee you all had. But she can make them at home, and they taste better than going to the very popular coffee shop to get them. So that's what I'm having right now. I used to drink those every once in a while. I don't drink them anymore because that put weight on you. Definitely put weight on you for sure. All right, guys, I'm still kind of getting organized, so bear with me. I've got a lot of things back here going on at once. Sound good. That's what I need to know. I need sound check. What is the super chat? Super chat's down at the bottom. Okay, cool. Yeah, super chat's down at the bottom. It's a variety of different colors. Send me your questions through the super chat, and I'll answer your question to the very best of my ability. But here recently, one of the things that I want to talk about, I don't know what's going on. I know over the course of many years, I've learned a lot about the Earth, the sun, and what the sun's getting ready to do. I've got people, what's up, RC? I've got, thank you, RC. I've got people, let's just say acquaintances. I've got a lot of acquaintances around the world, and they're very smart people, and they have access to some very fascinating equipment. Let's put it that way. Hold on just a sec. Oh, I got like 4 instruments here at once. But anyway, they're all in agreement, including me, that the sun's getting ready to do something, and it's getting ready to do something really big. I don't know if you guys remember, but on June 1st, I was the only one that mentioned the possibility of that solar event that occurred on the 30th into to June 1st. I referred to it as a super solar halo because it was. And once I saw it, they don't happen very often, but once I saw it, I'm like, there it is. And we and I'm talking about the men and women that I'm in communication with from various locations around the world, they said it was coming, and it did. So it created a 72-hour geomagnetic storm. 72-hour, okay? As it turned out, everything was good. There were a few disruptions here and there. But what if in the future, because nobody, at the end of the day, to be honest with you, nobody really knows what the sun is. Hey, Denise, when is Illinois going to get rain? You're going to get rain here real soon, depending on what part of Illinois you're in, Denise. Look for rain here soon. Here, I'll put it on the thing behind me. The rain's been coming your way. Looks dry as a bone right now, though. You know what? It might be a dry stretch during the summer because we're in the middle of the La Nina El Nino transition, Denise, and sometimes it steers the moisture to the south or to the north. And as you can see, it's been going to the north this year. North Dakota and South Dakota have been getting tornadoes and extreme weather that they don't normally get. A lot of times that weather comes right through Illinois. So it could be a dry summer. But anyway, back to, so I hope that answered your question. You probably won't see much rain here anytime real soon. The super halo back on June 1st that gave us a 72-hour geomagnetic storm. That by the way, in case you guys didn't know, that is absolutely unheard of. But my sources and myself had an idea. We didn't know when exactly. We knew it was coming, and it did happen, and it was directed at Earth. But the thing of it is, if we were to have a super flare, because at the end of the day, nobody really knows what the sun is capable of doing. If it does anything at all like the neighboring stars out in our cosmic neighborhood, those stars that we've been observing since we've been observing our neighborhood and paying attention to what's going on, those stars go through a super flare event about once every 100 years. Not like clockwork, but pretty close, okay? It's kind of like the pole shifting and other things that people are talking about. At the end of the day, guys, nobody really knows. But with the sun and the sun's behavior and the ratios, it goes down to ratios. And I've got people that know how to get down with the ratios of the heat, hydrogen and helium and various components of the sun that make up the multiple layers of the sun. And is the sun getting ready to shed a layer? It shed a layer on June 1st. You bet it did. And that layer created what's known as a halo. I refer to it as a super halo. And that just remember that name, super halo, because you're going to hear it more often as we move forward. But if we get impacted by a super flare with today's technology and all the satellites that are orbiting Earth, and there are thousands, probably tens of thousands, that we all depend on. Some of us depend on one of those satellites orbiting the Earth once or twice a day, sometimes multiple times a day. A super flare that has the potential to create a... Can you imagine a geomagnetic storm that lasted 700 hours? Are you serious? Can you imagine something like that? I know it seems impossible, but it's true. Hey, Brian Kitts, a member for 3 months of the Star family. Thank you, Brian. Appreciate that. If you guys want to become a member of the Star family, click on the link in the description box. But yeah, I mean, if a super flare were to interact with the Earth straight on, your satellites are going to be engulfed in so much what's known as drag. They're going to slow down and malfunction like no other. Even if they put them in safe mode, they're going to slow down because of so much density from the layer of the sun. And the sun, yeah, it's got many layers, just like the Earth has many layers. We have many layers of atmosphere. We have many layers below us, and we have many layers above us. Sun's the same way. Jupiter's the same way. Saturn's the same way. You know, they're all alike in certain ways. The sun is the king of this domain, and at the end of the day, again, nobody knows what it's capable of doing, but there are theories and forecasts for solar cycle 25 that I've never really talked about, and I'm not sure that I want to. You know what I mean? Because I'm not here to you know. But I don't want to keep information from you guys either. I think you should be prepared, you know, just in case. And I've always said that, you know, especially with the arrival of a potential hurricane. Prepare like it's going to make landfall in your area. And this year, I'm going to be following hurricanes, and I'll be doing hurricane updates. You'll have to follow me for the updates. Um, it's better to have it and not need it than to need it and not have it. That's just an old saying that's as old as time itself, you know. So, like if we were to have a Carrington event in today's world, and we all rely on, you know, electronic e-commerce, all of you guys have used it by now. Um, that's not going to work. So you got to have a little bit of cash around, because you're not going to be able to barter with a piece of plastic. No, but if you got a little bit of cash, even coins, something to barter with, because if the satellites go down and the power grid, you all have seen what's been going on with the power grid here recently, right? With the power around the world. That's why I've been staying on it, guys. I know something, okay? These people have told me something. Good grief. Y'all are getting mad at me because I'm not necessarily you guys specifically, but because I'm staying on this flashing light phenomena that's sweeping the entire earth. Come on, have you figured it out yet? There's something up. Yeah. There's something up. But again, I'm not here to try to tell you to run to the mountains and get away from the coastline. No, you're grown adults, and you're very capable of doing what's best for yourself. But, you know, like me, I take advice and information from people that I know are in the know. And they're saying that the sun is getting ready to do something really big, okay? The super halo that we saw, it was exactly a month ago today, June 1st. Is probably whatever this event that's going to happen in solar cycle 25, more than likely. Hopefully it won't, but more than likely it is, because it's way overdue. Hold on just a second. It's way overdue. So be prepared, you know, for possible long-term power outages and things like that. You know, where we're at out here in the desert, just the thought of a you know, power outage in the middle of the summer is terrible. It's terrifying. But you know what? I'm ready for it. Been ready for it for a long time. Absolutely. So we're not going to go thirsty. We're not going to get too hot. You know, I've got things organized and ready to go just in case. I'd rather have it and not need it than sit around knowing what I know, or, you know, I've been told, and not take the necessary, you know, precautions and things. So if you guys have any questions on things that are going on in Arizona, yeah, Arizona has been hot for sure. Talon Morrison, light up the super chat, guys. Light it up. Send some colors up and down that super chat. We'll talk, answer questions. This live stream is going to be based on what you all want. What do you want to talk about? You know, a lot of times you'll see me do videos on this channel about things in the sky, you know, and I am. I'm a sky guy, no doubt about it. But I'm not limited to the sky. I follow the sun and the earth just as closely, you know. The sky just happens to be something that's in between. And I get a lot of videos from people that see things in the sky, and I'm an image analyst. So I'll analyze the videos for these folks, like I've done for Ancient Aliens three different times now. Done work with Travis, the guy, you guys have probably seen the show Skinwalker Ranch. Well, I've done work with Travis 3 times now, 2 or 3 times now, I forget. Travis is a real good guy, obviously a very smart guy. He's a rocket scientist, a real rocket scientist. And he and I have analyzed videos for Ancient Aliens, the History Channel's Ancient Aliens, for years. So he's up in Utah at Skinwalker Ranch trying to track down things that are going on up there. And there are some mysterious things that go on up there, absolutely. Hold on just a second. Oh, here we go. What's up over here, guys? What's going on with you? But no, my sources are telling me, and these are sources that I've had for a long, long time. We go way back. And they're sun watchers too. They're earth watchers too. I guess you could say they're watchmen. You know, they're on it. They're on things, just like I am. I try to be on it. You know. Yeah, I feature a variety of different things on the YouTube channels because the YouTube channel is, you know, a lot of times it's user driven. You know, I'll feature what the users send in to the Dropbox, to the email, and we'll analyze it and feature it because it's fun. You know, it is fun. I like to see what y'all are seeing all around the world. Got people that send things in from South Africa, from New Zealand, from Australia, Malaysia, the Philippines. I don't get a whole lot from India. Don't get a whole lot from Saudi Arabia. I do get things from like Hong Kong every once in a while, Japan every once in a while, all through Europe, all through the France and Spain get stuff, Sweden, Finland, Denmark, and all across Canada, USA. Not a lot from Central America, but occasionally. I don't think I've got. Now I'm just trying to recall here. I don't think I've gotten one video in all these years or photo in all these years from Cuba. I don't think. I've gotten one from several, not several, but a few from the Dominican Republic, quite a few from Puerto Rico, and then down into the Southern Caribbean, the Lesser Antilles, throughout those small islands. That's when, back in the day, before things kind of changed, and there's a whole lot of stuff going on out there, guys. You got to be careful where you get your information, okay? I know drama sells and all that. I get it. I totally get it. But my wife was telling me about a video a couple of days ago. I'm going to switch gears here real quick about misinformation, disinformation, stuff like that. She looked at me and she goes, "Why aren't you talking about the solar flare? The Earth is being bombarded with these coronal mass ejections." And I'm like, what? And this is something to keep in mind that I check every day, sometimes multiple times a day, usually multiple times a day. And I said, it takes me 2 seconds to do. It's on the homepage of the website, plus there's another place that I use. And I'm like, we're not being bombarded by any coronal mass ejections or anything like that. Well, so-and-so's over here got 123,000 views, and they're saying the Earth is getting bombarded with coronal mass ejections. Well, on that day, we weren't. It was quiet as a church mouse, man. So I'm like, okay, the person is obviously making this up. So just be careful where you get your information. That's all. There's a a tsunami of disinformation out there. That's all I can tell you. What I give you is real. Some of the things that we analyze in the sky, they may not look real, but they're, in my opinion, real. Get a lot of really, wild and crazy things sometimes, But yeah, just be careful, especially when it comes to, people up there screaming, "Oh, it's coming, it's coming, it's coming." Yeah, there is something coming, but it's not coming every single day. In fact, the sun right now is kind of quiet after what happened on June 1st and what's coming before the end of solar cycle 25, and potentially during the downswing, we go from solar maximum down to solar minimum. Well, we've had some big events during, hey, Terry M. Thank you for the super chat, Terry M. We've had big solar flares during solar minimum, so it doesn't necessarily mean all the activity is going to be during solar maximum, but there are some very smart people saying that something big is coming this way. And the sun, whether there's a sunspot facing there, like a Hyder flare, for instance. Have you ever heard of a Hyder flare? A Hyder flare is a very large solar event that doesn't originate from a sunspot or an active region. It's like a big filament collapsing on the surface of the sun and could, send a lot of energy towards the Earth, absolutely. But it's the super flare. I don't know why that keeps doing that. Sorry about that. There we go. The super flare. That's what we gotta be ready for. Our technology, we've kind of put ourselves in a trap. You see what I mean? We've thought this through, I'm sure. This technology race, and they can't put Starlink satellites in orbit fast enough. There's a rocket going up, once a week now, maybe twice a week, carrying load after load after load of satellites into orbit. just can't get them up there fast enough. Sometimes I'm wondering if there's not another motive to all these satellites. And I know that they do provide an internet service around the world. I think that's great. That's awesome. But can you imagine if all those things linked up, Starlink, if they really linked up and created like a Dyson sphere or something around the Earth to protect the Earth from an incoming solar super flare? What about that, huh? Never thought of that. What if they did? What if they linked up and deflected the super flare and saved the day? Might just be what's happening. You never know. Well, it's good. Doing a good job making this one here, huh? But that's just my theory. Yeah, that's just my theory. But I do know that this is another thing too. Good Lord. Y'all get the spam calls every day? I've never seen anything like it. I just got one right now. It's 12. What time is it? 12:15. Just got a spam call. I'll probably get 2 more before the end of the day. Every day. It's just nuts. Like there's a constant distraction, If it's not a spam call, it's a spam email. The latest thing's a spam text. It's like, wow, But anyway, back to the point at hand. If you guys have something you want to talk about, send me a question in the chat. Send me a super chat, and we'll talk. We'll talk as long as you like. Bring it on. Let's see what you got. What do you guys want to talk about? What's on your mind? What's up, guys? What is on your mind? Guys, I want to share something with you. If there were, and it's happened, if there were some sort of issue with the atmosphere, and I have instruments right over there. I'll show them to you here in a minute. They're UV instruments. And the reason I started measuring the UV, and I still check the UV only during the summer in the northern hemisphere because I live in the northern hemisphere, and that's when the UV is the strongest. The UV is the weakest during the winter, and it's the strongest during the summer, wherever you may live. It's always at peak wherever you live at 12 noon, 12 o'clock. When you can't see your shadow, that means the sun's directly above your head. So that's telling you the UV is the strongest. The longer your shadow is, the weaker the UV. Pretty common sense, right? So if you're going to measure the UV like I do, measure it at 12 noon. And there's a variety of reasons to measure the UV. One of those reasons is to check the health of your atmosphere. That tells you whether your atmosphere is good or bad. Or it also can tell you if it's maybe struggling and having a hard time deflecting the radiation, because that's going to be the biggest problem. If there ever were some sort of an issue with the shields and they were to go wonky for a few months, a day and a half, 2 weeks, it's the UV. So I've done the experiments. I've gone up into the mountains at 7,000, 8,000, 6,000 feet. I didn't go any higher than that, but I noticed a trend when I was measuring the UV going up into the mountains. The higher up I went, and this was in the spring in the northern hemisphere, the higher up I went, the higher the UV got. And I'm down here at 1,100, right around 1,000, between 1,000 and 1,100 feet above sea level. And the UV's right, where it's supposed to be. And you'd think, wow, you're in the desert, the UV's probably through the roof and yada, yada, yada. It's right where it's supposed to be, believe it or not. In the summertime, it's between 10 and 12. And that's where it's been. So if you don't hear me talk about it, chances are it's copacetic. It's pretty good. But the last thing you want to do, if the magnetic shields in our ozone layer are struggling, is be up in the mountains at about 10, 15,000 feet. You're going to cook. Do I communicate, hey, Cena Annie, do I communicate with Stephen Burns? He monitors the sun as well. Also, are you able to throw out any names that we might follow? The people, these people are friends of mine. You wouldn't know them, Cena. They're friends that I've had for many, many years. And they have interests in the earth and the sun and, geophysics, just like I do. So, yeah, you wouldn't know them. These are folks that I went to school with many, many years ago. Stephen Burns, I don't know Stephen Burns. I don't know who he is. So I'm sorry about that. Wish I could help you. Okay, Terry M's at 46. 46 is nice and cool. There's times that I wish we were at 4,600 feet whenever it's 110 out here. But you got to be careful of your UV, Terry. That's the only thing. And I've done the homework, I've done the measurements, and I've done the actual footwork. I didn't count on somebody else to tell me, even though I do have a man, and he'll be sending me readings here soon. His name's Darren out of Abbotsford, British Columbia. He sends me UV readings all summer long, every other day. Well, not every day, because it gets a little bit overwhelming, to be honest. Every other day is perfect. Yeah, real good guys from Abbotsford, British Columbia, at the 50-degree north latitude. And their UV is unusually high up there, and I'm not sure what's going on. He has instruments just like mine, and they're calibrated, and they work fine, they work perfect, but for some reason, the basic light up that super chat, guys. Let her rip. Cena Annie, thanks for the super chat. Here's the basic. It's not a theory; it's just a fact. With regard to the UV, the higher up you go, the lower the UV. And the reason behind that is because the higher up you go, the thicker the atmosphere gets. The lower you go on the latitudes, I'm talking from the equator up, the atmosphere is thinner at the equator. So the UV is always a little higher at the equator, in the Caribbean, Venezuela, Ecuador. It's not too far-fetched to have a UV of 16 down there. But for some reason, when you go up into the altitudes of the mountains, the UV gets pretty high. So if the shields were to struggle and break down in any capacity, and their ability to slow down, especially UVC, and we can thank O3 for that. Ozone, the ozone layer up there, it's basically oxygen with 3 particles. But it does a great job at absorbing the UVC. But if UVC were to get to ground level, and that's what I have right over there, it's a UVC instrument that measures UVC. If it ever gets to ground level, we're in trouble. That means our shields are failing. So our UVA and B can fluctuate a little bit, and we're going to be good. Okay, we're going to be fine. How much it fluctuates depends on how good we're going to be. If it's fluctuating 10 and 15 variables, we're not going to be good, because it's going to create a domino effect of crop failures and things like that. Holy cow, MVP. Oh, that's my moderator. Thank you. I'll have your questions prioritized like this by your sending this. Oh, thank you, moderator. Appreciate that. Yeah, that's what we're trying to do in this one. I'm going to be on this live stream for a while. And it's a question and answer live stream. If you guys have questions, light up the super chat. Click on the super chat, and I see it a lot easier. So, where was I? Oh, those instruments tell us the overall strength of the atmosphere. If our shields, basically the magnetic shields and the ozone and things like that. If those numbers start fluctuating too much, then we know, okay, there could be a series of things to follow. Crop failures, things aren't going to grow right. You're going to see an influx of radiation down here at ground level, more than we're used to. Yeah, there's background radiation 24/7. That's just part of our environment. That's just how we live. That's the Earth. But if we start getting UVC down here, then that means the shields are failing. That's how we'll know. The magnetic north can wander all at once. As long as the UV's good, who cares? It can wander all over the Arctic up there. I don't care. It can dance around all it wants to. But as long as the UV is good, that's really all we're concerned about. That's it. Let that wander around all at once. No big deal. The big deal is the UV, because that can create a whole series of problems. That wandering North Pole, it don't mean nothing. Doesn't mean a thing. And it's not going to affect you. Has it so far? And it's been wandering for years. Has it affected your life? No. Not 1 second. But let that UV get up to about 30. Everybody would be going underground. Hopefully it doesn't get to that point. I hope it never does. But I remember one year when I first started taking UV measurements, the UV was exceptionally high. And that was during solar minimum, right? It's like, what? Yeah, solar minimum. So that's when the shields can get a little, I've noticed just from my own personal observations, the shields can get a little unstable, I guess, destabling a little bit. But during solar maximum, it seems like they're strong. But there's a fine, delicate balance, that we have to maintain, because we're in a cosmic constant dance with the sun. Constantly. We're constantly absorbing solar wind. And, it erodes the shields. Hey, Graham, what's going on with you? Can rare elements from the sun be the cause of the... there you go. You're a thinker, aren't you, Graham? Look at you. Yes. Thank you. Great question by Graham Gillies. Can rare elements from the sun be the cause of the dirty electricity? And you got a thumbs up from me, too. Absolutely it could. Look, something is hitching a ride on our communication lines down here. Especially our lines that carry a current, electricity. And yes, it could come from the sun. Yeah, absolutely. Electromagnetic energy. What if, let me put it to you this way, Graham, you seem like a smart guy. What if a neutrino is a particle that's going through me, you, everybody watching this live stream right now, everybody lighting up that super chat like Graham did. A neutrino is a subatomic particle that doesn't have a proton or an electron. It's neutral. Hence its name, neutrino. But what if a neutrino somehow or another, not all of them, because they're going through me and you right now, but what if 1 or 2 or 3 or 10 or 100 that go through the Earth and everybody on the Earth every second, what if a neutrino picked up an electron, just one, or a proton? What if it picked up a particle somewhere along the way? And we say, oh, well, that's impossible. Well, how do we know that's impossible? We don't. We don't even really know what's in the bottom of all that water out there. Because we can't explore it all. It's too big. We've tried and done a pretty good job. But we don't know. We don't have all the answers to every single thing. You don't live long enough to be able to accumulate that much knowledge and have a working understanding of how all this works. And number two, you don't live long enough. And number two, it's always changing. You know what I mean? The Earth and the sun, it's always changing. It's a work in progress. So you can understand certain aspects of it, and about the time you think you got it figured out, it'll go change. But one thing we can do is watch the numbers. We watch the UV, and that's the main reason that we check the UV here all the time, especially in the summertime in the northern hemisphere during the summertime. It's because if the UV starts getting out of whack, that means our shields are out of whack, and that tells you a very big, important story. So, you don't really want to go up, because the higher up you go in the mountains, the higher the UV. So just be cognizant of that. And I've confirmed that myself. I've taken those instruments right over there to Flagstaff, Arizona. And I took measurements along the way, up the mountain. I took measurements in Flagstaff. And I was shocked at the measurements that I got up there. I really was. I was absolutely shocked. And this was during the spring. So yeah. But right now, to be honest with you, the last time I checked UV, it was good. And we're into summer, so UV is going to be highest for me personally here in the northern hemisphere, and any of you that live above the equator. It's that time of year the UV is going to be the highest. I had a gentleman from, speaking of UV, he used to send me readings from Amsterdam, and I forgot his name. What was his name? Great guy, very smart guy. He took UVAB, UVC. What else did he measure? He rode around on he had a scooter, and on this scooter he had this compartment that was full of these instruments. Yeah, he was really cool. He got spooked because he was measuring the UV for me over there in Amsterdam, or in the Holland area, and if I'm not mistaken, that is 51 degree latitude. Let me look here real quick. 51 or 52. Let's look. I'm saying 51. I'm just guessing. Maybe it's 52. But here's what happened. This happened to two guys that did readings for me. I had a guy by the name of Luis that took readings from Portland, Oregon, and Portland, Oregon is at the 40. What is Portland, Oregon? Talk to me, Portland. 45 degree north. Let's go to Holland. Guy got freaked out and quit doing it. 52. That's where he was at. He was at the 52 degree north latitude. That high up on the latitudes, you shouldn't ever have a UV, even during peak summer. I mean, nine and a half during the summer months, and it's been a while since I've gotten readings from there, but he started getting readings with his instruments of 11 and a half, almost 12 a couple of times. And to be quite honest with you, it spooked him. And he gave me readings, consistent readings, for a couple of years. And once he started seeing those high readings at the 52 degree north latitude, I never heard from him again. And he was over in Holland. And I used to have a gentleman from California, Portland. I had a guy send me readings from Portland. He too got a little spooked. He was taking UVAB and UVC. He started detecting trace amounts of UVC. It went away, but he started detecting trace amounts of UVC in Portland, just outside of Portland. I believe in Beaverton. Yeah, right there. Beaverton, Oregon is where he sent those in from, which is southwest Portland? Yeah, I believe so. It's in the Portland area. Yeah, southwest Portland. He quit doing it too because he was honestly he was freaked out when he started getting trace amounts of UVC at the ground level. It went away. The atmosphere bounced back, but that was the sign. And he even said that was a sign of our atmosphere struggling, and it was at that time. But for some reason, Portland, Abbotsford, British Columbia, the Vancouver area, the UV is a little higher up there than it should be. Shouldn't be that high at the 50, 45 degree latitude. So yeah, Abbotsford, which is in southern British Columbia, he's right at the 50 degree north. UV, again, shouldn't be ever really above 10. He sends me readings all the time that are 14, 13. That's way out of bounds. It's way out of bounds. What's UVC? UVC is a short wave. Everything's a frequency. There's long wave frequencies that come from space, the sun. There's short wave frequencies that come from space and the sun. Cosmic rays, and the ozone layer that surrounds the Earth neutralizes UVC, which is it's a frequency, okay, and it's a frequency that is very harmful. We don't want that frequency down here at ground level. It would annihilate every living thing on the surface. It really and truly would. Not going to sugarcoat it. We don't want UVC on the ground. Thankfully, the ozone layer is up there, and I think, well, I know we're good because I check it all the time. But you don't want no part of UVC. If we're measuring UVC on the ground, you shouldn't be outside, period. The UVAB, which is, you need a little bit of that, okay? You got to have a little bit of that type of UVAB, but UVC starts getting measurable. You wouldn't be able to measure it personally with your own self unless you were heavily protected like an astronaut. Yeah. You'd basically, if you were to go outside, you would have to dress like an astronaut. We don't want that. So, but I was even getting measurements of trace UVC for a couple of years. A couple of years I did. Trace amounts. Nothing alarming, but it was still concerning. Like, hey, why are we getting trace amounts of UVC on the ground here? Well, what that told me was, Shauna, thanks for the super chat, Shauna. Much love, Shauna. What that told me was that there were pockets of anomalies in the ozone layer that were allowing trace amounts of that frequency, because everything is a frequency at the end of the day, guys, was allowing that frequency to come to the ground. And those pockets have since, stabilized, and now they're capturing micromoti. You feel the orbs they morph into, you feel the orbs. You know what? I got a video, hope I said that right. Micromoti, right over here. There's 2 of them that are done. People just sent them in a couple of days ago. Hey, Jeff Snyder, 2 is geomagnetic induction burning trees from the inside. That's a good question. I used to follow, Jeff, an induction magnometer from HARP. It used to be online. It used to be available to the public, Jeff. And I used to be able to measure those frequencies. I could tell if there was a comet coming towards the Earth before they would release it to the public because of this induction magnometer. So, yeah, I'd say there's a pretty good chance that it could, of course. But once I started tracking, I'm not saying it was me that did it, but I was the one that told everybody, hey, if you go up here and you use the induction magnometer, because what you would hear if a comet or an asteroid, that's the reason I used it, because comets you can see, right? An asteroid, a dark body coming towards the Earth, you may not be able to see it. But with the induction magnometer, it picks up static in space. I learned that by accident, and it became a wonderful tool. And I use that every day. I just go up and look for anomalies, just like we do with the Schumann resonance. We look for anomalies and spikes in the Schumann. Well, it's kind of like that, but it measured a different component of, our surroundings. And yeah, for sure, it would pick up static of comets, asteroids, and the public would know before it got released to the public. It was really cool when we had access to it. We don't have access to it anymore. So I looked at getting one. This was, oh Lord. Wow, I looked at getting one 10 years ago. $7,000. So I'm like, yeah, I don't think I'll be getting an induction magnometer anytime soon. Now keep in mind, this was 10 years ago. But it was such a fabulous tool it was like you had constant eyes in the sky. We got eyes on the earth monitoring things. This was an eye in the sky thing that worked 24/7. And they're still available. It's just that one that I used to use is no longer available to the public. So yeah, thank you, Jeff, for the super chat. That was very cool, and I hope that answered your question. Can you imagine, Jeff, even 150 hour, like the last geomagnetic storm, big one that we had, was 72 hours, 70 hours from the superhalo? Can you imagine one that would be like 170 hours? Things would start to collect a lot of static and a lot of dirty electricity. Hello, dirty electricity. That's what we're talking about in these videos that I do. Dirty electricity. These long duration solar storms, these long duration geomagnetic storms could be a side effect from that. And they could be causing these lights to malfunction. Yeah. The lights are trying to tell us a story, just like whenever we measure the UV. You know, those numbers are telling us a story. You know, they're telling us the story of a bigger picture. These lights that are flashing around the world, it's more than just a faulty bulb. They're telling us the story of a much bigger picture that we just simply can't see. That's all. Is it, something apocalyptic? Not necessarily, but I think we need to pay attention to it. The bulbs just don't go like, it's like all the bulbs in your house going out on the same day. Would you think, oh, well, all my bulbs went bad on the same day? No, you'd be like, why did all my bulbs go bad on the same day? Well, more than likely, you'd have to go back to the source that feeds the bulbs. There was something wrong with the source. Well, was it my circuit board that caused them all to go out? Could have been. But what caused your circuit board to overload? Again, it goes back to the source. Something contaminated your electricity, the flow of electricity. So there's a lot of things to consider when you're looking for certain aspects of the earth that could tell of something big coming. Excuse me, I had to get a drink. But something that is coming, from what I understand, what I'm being told, the sun is constantly releasing mass. Okay? It never stops. It releases mass all the time. Whether it's at 200 kilometers per second or 1,000 kilometers per second. That's how fast energy comes off the surface of the sun. 24 hours a day. And sometimes faster. Well, it's basically unraveling up there right before our very eyes. So at some point, even right now as I do this video, the ratios of its elements, as was mentioned earlier, its ratios change. So the amount of helium in the sun, the amount of hydrogen in the sun, the ratios are constantly fluctuating. Well, if it gets too out of balance, it could do something very drastic, like a lot of our neighboring stars have already done. We've witnessed it. And they go through that cycle about every 100 years. So are we due? We're overdue. Hello. The last one was in 1859. Now, we've had some big ones since then, but the Carrington event of 1859, that was, 41, 25, 600, over 160 years ago. Abraham Lincoln was president. So it's way overdue. It was the last time that, Neptune made a full orbit. So you can look at it any way you want. It's overdue. So is it going to happen in solar cycle 25? Some people think so. The people that I know, that I went to school with, they've been my friends forever, and I trust them, And they're very bright. They're very grounded, common sense people. So, yeah. We think a lot alike, and I trust them. I trust them. The sun is a clock. Well, I don't know if I agree with that. The sun's not really a clock. The Earth's rotation gives the illusion that the sun is a clock, but if the Earth didn't rotate and the sun didn't rotate, how would we understand time? That's how they figured it out many years ago, by using a blisk and a shadow, you know. And that's something else I've done. Have you ever just taken a 24-inch, you could use a tripod if you wanted to. Set it out in your backyard, front yard, wherever. Something that has an unobstructed view of the sun for 365 days. And measure the shadow during the solstice in December, and then measure the shadow during equinox. And you'll see that shadow extend over 30 inches. I've done it. Yeah, we lived at a place that gave me the ability to do that. So I do know that the Earth turns, and the turning of the Earth on a 24-hour, rotation, that's what gives us the perception of time. It's the rotation of the Earth. Not necessarily the sun itself. But the sun is constantly losing mass, so the ratios of hydrogen and helium are going to change. And if they get too far out of whack of what we're used to on a day-to-day basis, then big things can happen on the surface of the sun that can create huge events that we don't even know are possible. And we don't. Up to this point, we've seen, I think the biggest is a X45, and that, honestly, for, a star, it's not that big. No, it's really not. But it's happened. Can you imagine an X400? That would really mess things up here, because we have way too many satellites in orbit that we depend on. I'm just looking at the GOES X-ray flux right now, guys. Schumann resonance. I'm checking it out. It's something I do every day. Schumann is hot. What's going on with Schumann? 2 days now in a row. Loaded with color. Probably see it behind me. Here, I'll show you the Schumann. Bada bing, bada boom, right behind me. There's the Schumann. See it? It's lit up. Oh, there we go. Zilrin Rocha, $2. Thank you for your devotion. God bless you, Zilrin. Thank you for the super chat. It's a pretty blue, kind of like this pretty red back here on the Schumann. Thank you very much. Really appreciate that, Zilrin. Yeah, the Schumann. Look at the times on the Schumann. Both days at the same time. Pretty much at the same time. Yesterday, stronger than today. That too is telling us a story. Everything tells a story. That's why we have so many instruments all around the world. That's why they have. Why would a scientist be compelled to put seismographs all around the world, in the oceans, on land, all around the world? It's because they're anticipating something. They know something that they don't teach in public schools and a lot of universities. They know the Earth is capable of something too. It's like the sun. We can't really put instruments on the sun, but they can send instruments up to watch the sun. Why does the Navy keep so close eye on the sun? They do. Tony Miller, love the blue. Thank you, Tony Miller. Appreciate that. Thanks for the super chat. But yeah, the Navy keeps track of the sun real close. Yeah, the Navy of all places. But we got all these instruments around the world circling the Earth. The only thing we can't do is get too far down deep in the Earth, Tony, because the pressure is so great. There was a valiant effort many years ago to drill down to at least past the upper crust of the Earth. Try to get down 25 miles or so. Couldn't do it. It's like, no. Not going to do it. The equipment couldn't do it. They got down about 7 miles, I think. 6 or 7 miles. And then the pressure was just so immense that the equipment just gave out. You couldn't do it. So thanks again for the super chat, Tony. I really appreciate that. So we don't really know. We can't monitor the Earth's core. We can monitor it in certain ways. One of the ways is they use these seismographs that they have positioned all around the world. And that's how they've learned the shape of the inner core through seismographs, because we can't go down there and take a picture, you know. We got buoys all over the place, and I kind of get that, you know. But the buoys are attached to the ocean floor. In most cases, the old traditional buoys, they're attached to the ocean floor. And I used to monitor a buoy down south of Indonesia many years ago. It would show every once in a while a fluctuation of many hundred feet, and tried to get a hold of the buoy facility to see if maybe they were taking it up for maintenance or something. And then within 24 hours or less, it would be back to normal. But sometimes in the deep southern hemisphere, the buoys can act really, really strange. And then the buoys across the equator of the Earth, in fact, they have most of those turned off across the equator, because they're probably telling a story that, you know, they don't want everybody to see. That they don't want everybody to see. But we've got monitors all over the Earth. We've got monitors all around the skies, monitoring the Earth around the clock. It's like they're waiting on the Earth to do something. You know, we're waiting on the sun to do something too. And then the Earth is going to respond to what the sun does. It's just a constant yin-yang, you know, just constant change. December 12th, 2012 was the end of Earth's good cycle. Now we're in the bad cycle for the next 6,000 years. Tiny man. I thought that was December 21st. Could be. Whistling buoys. No, a magnetar wouldn't be good. Those things are very dense, from what I understand, and those would create big problems. Thank you, Trish Boone. Appreciate that. Yeah, a magnetar would create big problems. A magnetar would probably stir up the inner core, cause tsunamis and all kinds of stuff. Absolutely. Thank you, spirited woman. Yeah, so, you know, you got to be the voice of reason. You know, you got to think these things through. Don't get too out of bounds. I know there's a lot of madness out there these days, you know, but just know that there's not always something incoming. You know, yeah, we're always dealing with some sort of solar wind. That's normal, you know. All the stuff that we know in our ecosystem wouldn't even be here if it wasn't for the steady flow of solar wind. Sometimes it picks up and gets faster, you know, but as far as any incoming storms on a daily basis being constantly swarmed by CMEs, that's just simply not true. You know, and I like to keep it real. Do I get excited whenever there's a big CME and a big solar storm bearing down on the Earth? Of course I do. It's something that I naturally gravitate to, and I have my whole life. You know what I mean? It's something that genuinely interests me. I want to know how all this stuff works, just like you guys. Everybody in this chat, you want to know how this works. You want to know how the sun works. You want to know what it's going to do, or you wouldn't be here. Do I have all the answers? No, but I have some. I've been doing this so long, I have some. But there are so many things that you have to look at collectively at the same time. It's impossible for one man to have that much knowledge. You don't have the brain capacity, Mean Gene, to do that as a human being. You just don't. Has there ever been a correlation? Thank you for the super chat, Mean Gene. That's cool. Love that color. Has there ever been a correlation between human and world events? That is an excellent question. I like that. I'm just thinking here, Mean Gene. I'm trying to recall, because I go through tons of data every single day. I'm trying to think of a specific moment in time where the human was up and world events were up. It depends on what your classification is of world event, I suppose. A heavily juiced human can affect the thought process of the human mind. Okay, so if humans are responsible for shaping a part of history, which we are, a small part, but we are, then influxes in the Schumann are going to influence the outcome of those thoughts and events, as you said. What is going on here? So yes, I would have to say yes, the Schumann would influence world events. I would say, though, through humans. And thanks again for the super chat. I really appreciate that. As far as it affecting the Earth itself, the Earth has a resonance, and that's the Schumann resonance. 7.65, I believe it is. 7.63, 7.65 is the frequency of the Earth. If that frequency were to increase, and let's say it went up to 40 and stay at 40 or 45 for an extended period of time, I don't think it would be, cataclysmic. I just think it would be a change that we would have to adjust to as humans. But as far as it doing any type of, tsunami type of stuff or triggering a bunch of volcanoes, no, it can't. It can't do that. But it can affect humans. Absolutely. It can affect... A lot of times when there's like I just showed you guys on the graph, when the Schumann's elevated a lot, and I've studied this too for years, many years ago, 9-10 years ago, the effects of coronal holes on the sun and humans, and your blood type and your chromosome, whether it's XY chromosome, how old you are, where you live, what you eat. It affects everybody differently, and so does the energy in the Schumann, the frequency of the Earth. We all respond to it a little bit differently. We all respond to the energy of the moon, full moon, a little bit differently. There's real science behind the very fact that full moons, the ERs in hospitals see an increase in activity during the full moon cycle, when it's a full moon. They've documented that over the years. So that also plays a role in the human thought process. So would the increases and spikes in the Schumann resonance. It affects a lot of people's sleep habits, whether they're hungry, whether they're maybe not so hungry, their moods. Of course, we're used to 7.6, 7.63, whatever it is. We're not used to a constant 40, 45, Up and down, it fluctuates, and so does your mood. Maybe your sleeping habits. Absolutely. Good question. I like that. Keep them coming. Light it up. Keep them coming. Anybody else? I'll do my best. Been doing this a long time. Moonlight is colder than moon shade. The moon is an enigma. That's one right there that I don't know. I don't want to go down that rabbit hole, and I haven't. I mean, I have a little bit, but the moon is an enigma. That's all I'm going to say. The moon is an enigma. Next super chat, and I'll tell you what I think the moon is, if you care what my thoughts are. Who's got it and what color? Last one was a nice color. I appreciate the super chats, guys. I really do. They help more than you know. Keeps me, in a good place. And I appreciate it. What do you think the moon is? Anybody got any educated guesses? And again, it's just a guess. Educated guess. What is the moon other than an enigma? Never rotates. It's always facing the Earth the same exact way. Has all of our lives. We've never seen the moon, any other side of the moon than what we've seen. It's just stuck. It's just stuck right there. You know what I mean? It's just kind of weird. How does it do that? How does it not rotate just a little? I mean, just a little? Come on, man. And the moon has mountains. Where did all those mountains come from? And where did all those craters come from? It's got holes all over the place. Where do they come from? The Mystery Luna, a machine, Indian Falcon. No, whoa, there's that color again. Way to go, JB. Yeah, talk about your radio ears. Do you miss them? JB, how'd you know I was in radio, brother? Thank you for the super chat. I really appreciate. Man, you're going way back, JB. Yeah, and do I miss him? I was a young man back then. Wow. Do I miss it? It was a fun gig. Yeah. I'll say it was a fun gig. Let me put it to you that way. I tell you what, that was one job, JB, and again, thanks for the super chat. That's really cool, man. I will say this. That was one, and it was a job. Yeah, I was a disc jockey many years ago. That was the one and only job that I showed up to work early every time. Not some of the time, every time. So that's half the battle in life. When you find something that you like to do, like I like doing what I do now. You know, I study the earth. I analyze images and videos, and I find all this stuff very, very fascinating, you know, and I can't get enough of it. But do I miss the radio years if you're referring to when I was a disc jockey many years ago? A little. Like I said, I was a very young man. I loved the job, yeah. Would I have stuck with it? Obviously I didn't. You know, I chose other things, but because to be honest, the pay wasn't that great. But that was many moons ago, right? That's cool, man. Thanks for asking. I appreciate that. But it was a fun job. It was a fun job. It went by like that. You know, we think time's going by fast now, and it is. Today's already Tuesday. Watch how fast Friday gets here. Next thing you know, we're going to be talking about it's Friday again. Why is it every time we turn around, it's always Friday? Is the frequency speeding up and it's giving us the illusion that time is moving faster? That's why these lights are getting out of sync? Oh, yeah, well, maybe the cycles are getting out of sync. You know, like someone had mentioned December 21st of 2012. After that, things have changed, and maybe the flow of energy has changed, and sometimes that flow of energy is changing more rapidly than others. And in those rapid times, like now, lights are telling us, yo, why is the flow of electricity getting messed up, and it's causing my lights to flash all over the world. So yeah, there is some substance to that. It's not just a bad bulb. Trust you me. And every one that I've showed you guys, and I've got a whole folder over here that has 1,000 more in it that I haven't even touched. I've retrieved them and put them in a folder. I've shared 721. No, I take that back. There's been 721 in the United States. I've probably shared 1,000. Close to 1,000. That means I have around 850 in this folder over here. I have over 1,800 now, by the way. Yes, I received some more today. They come in every single day in the email or in the Dropbox. The Dropbox is over here, but there's more to it than what you realize, guys. It's a big thing. It's a big deal. That's why I stay on it. If it was just random bulbs that are malfunctioning, going bad, honestly, I probably wouldn't even talk about it. But you have to keep in mind, I'm in a unique position over here. I get email from all around the world every single day, and I've never gotten a video or an email pertaining to malfunctioning lights in, oh my goodness, what, 12 years? All of a sudden, November of 2024, it became an everyday thing, and it's still an everyday thing, and we're in July. I mean, so it has substance. There's something going on, and it's creating, or I think it's stemming from dirty electricity. You can Google it. Don't take my word for it. It's a real thing. It's our steady flow of electricity that we're all using right now. If you're on this live stream, you're using electricity. And it's obviously clean, or it would be glitching and malfunctioning and stuff like that. Well, these electrical carriers, power lines and power grids and substations and stuff like that, if they get even briefly contaminated with a weird electromagnetic frequency, regardless of its origin, whether it comes from the core, comes from space, wherever, it doesn't matter. It's going to attach itself to that electrical current carrier. Like again, a power line, above ground, below ground, it doesn't matter. It's not picky. But it's going to land somewhere in a light somewhere. Maybe it be a row of lights down a highway. Multiple lights in a restaurant, on the outside of a restaurant, outside of buildings. I've seen them all over the place, even cars. I've seen them on solar lights. So that tells you right there that it's not just specifically items that are connected to the grid. So that tells you it's got to be something in the environment. Where it's coming from exactly, well, there could be a few sources. But there's substance to it, guys, and it's still going on. It's continuing to this very day. Definitely. So I'll keep talking about it. I don't share those in every single video, but I'll do it at least 3 times a week because it has substance. Now we'll know that it has genuine substance if in fact it stops as quickly as it started, because it just started, at least for me personally, very quickly in November of 2024. Just out of nowhere one day in my email and my Dropbox, I had multiple videos of people witnessing flickering and flashing lights. I'm like, wow, that's weird. And at first, I'm like a lot of you guys. I try to look at things rationally. Okay, was it a batch of bad bulbs? I'm like, okay, well, maybe it's got a batch of bad bulbs. Maybe it's the magnesium strip inside the bulbs. I understand that. That's what causes the bulbs to go purple. I understand that, Yes, I get it. I totally get it. But what I don't get is they all go bad at the same time. I can see one here, one there. Cool. That's normal. But to have 100 right in a row all go bad at the same exact time on the same day? No. Can't buy it. I can't rationalize that. You know what I mean? I just can't. I cannot rationalize that away. So it's part of a much bigger picture. Something is creating dirty electricity. We just have to figure out what that something is. Yeah. Frequency therapy. I have, he don't respond. What was that, JC? I'm sorry, did you say something? Oh, was the sun pulse in north central Texas? I don't know. I wouldn't doubt it. Sometimes it's a camera anomaly. But then again, we can't all monitor the sun from every position on the earth. But yeah, I mean, it could have happened. I don't know. I didn't see it. I didn't hear about it. Scotland, UK, welcome to the chat. What's up, guys? If the moon has trees, would they be called hairs? Good question, Skywalker. What is the moon? Anybody have any theories on what the moon is? What's up, guys? I know, what's up with all the Starlinks? I mean, they're everywhere. I've got I don't have it on that computer. I have it on this one over here. There's an app where you can see all the Starlinks at once orbiting the Earth. And there's a bunch. Thousands and thousands. So is it really just to satisfy everybody's internet needs? Maybe at the top of a mountain, maybe out in the middle of a desert where there's not, internet service? Or is it for something else? Or maybe both. I don't know. Maybe both. Jennifer Scott, blue cheese, hollowed out, brought in. I've heard that. A craft. Hi from East Tennessee. What's up, Bob? Yeah, there's a lot of satellites. They say, I've never used it, and I'm not giving them a plug or anything, but I've heard that the Starlink satellite internet is actually pretty good. I don't know though, I've never used it, but I've heard it's pretty decent. Yeah. So I know it does provide internet service, but maybe it does something else too. Who knows? Anybody know what the moon is? Anybody want to take a stab at it? I've heard craft, I've heard cheese, and then the moon seems like a reflection. Pink Floyd knows. Uh, it's the wind turbines causing dirty energy, just in case. All right. Well, the moon is cursed to chase the sun. To break the curse, then there's an eclipse because the moon catches the sun. Hi, NY Dibs. Thank you. What's up, JB? JB, did you know I was a disc jockey many, many years ago? I know you didn't listen to me many, many years ago. Maybe you did. I don't know. Some say the moon was a satellite brought here to stabilize the Earth. All right. I've heard that too. All right. I haven't seen it yet. I'm just looking to see if anybody's thinking the way I'm thinking, the way I've thought for a long time. The moon is a Death Star. All right. Cool. PF also knows dogs and pigs. Tibbity top. I'm just reading some of the Watchwoman of the Dragon. Yes, Planet X is coming soon. Where is Planet X? Moon used to be our sun. M. Ellie. All right. Cool. Anunnaki ship. Oh, plasma light in Zilrin. Okay. All right. Cool. Hologram. Moon is Earth's server, a natural satellite. True. Used to be like Earth. All right. Laffy Taffy. I found it weird that after all the trouble they went through back in the 60s and 70s to get to the moon, they never went back. That was a pretty big achievement, right? If in fact they really went, why didn't they go back? You're welcome, 48 Padre. You are very welcome. It's a giant ship. It was pulled in. I've heard that theory that it was pulled in. It's big. It's big for the size of the Earth. I think it's the second largest moon in the solar system, so it's much bigger than it really needs to be. Works with Saturn, left over from two worlds colliding. Could be. Spaceship. If you want to know, just ask the chat. The chat, right? That's the smartest, right there. It's the smartest people in the world. You got a collection of brains here all thinking at once. It doesn't get any better than that. Good job. Keep them coming, guys. I'm reading them as fast as I can. Are we going to die soon? Tippy top? No. Moon is Earth's baby. Okay. It's an inside-out planet. Thomas Harris, $100 super chat, guys. Go! Now that would be cool. Is there even a $100 super chat? To be quite honest with you, I don't even know. Okay, E7, 1970 moon is a planet. You know, it's interesting. The moon has it has ice on the north and south poles. And the coldest place in the solar system is, you guessed it, the south pole of the moon. What? Reflection of our planet. That's Mean Gene. Thank you, Mean Gene. It's made of celestial debris. JC. First live. Thanks. You're welcome, Claudio. The moon hollow. I don't know if it's hollow. I don't know if it could be hollow. The moon. Oh, there we go. Bethany, Michelle. Moon was a binary star. Bethany, I think it still is. Man, you guys are getting so close. Yeah, I think the moon being hollow, it would be tough to influence the bulge of the earth and the tides of the ocean, and be hollow. I don't know. I don't know if it could be. I mean, it could be, I suppose. The moon is a giant magnet. Hey, you're getting close. Human truth seeker. Some of you guys are getting close. Some of you guys are getting close. Sir. The moon is a computer. I never thought of that. Next super chat, any color, and I'll tell you what I think the moon is. And we'll see how many people agree. And we can agree to disagree. That's a nice thing about doing these live streams and doing chats and stuff like that. It's okay to disagree. At the end of the day, we're still friends. And at the end of the day, we're all just trying to figure this out. Absolutely. Sorry about that. The moon should have some gravity. I think it does in places. But again, that's just a theory. That's it. Okay. Electricity. Just getting a wipe here, guys. I forgot about that. I believe a binary live planet. Michelle Brady. Very cool. I think you're pretty close. It's an observatory for the Earth. Okay. Definitely would make a good one. Yeah. See? We're figuring it out right here in the chat. Now, even if we did figure it out, and let's say we got it perfect to a T, there'd be a story out tomorrow debunking us, saying that, oh, no, that's not true. And we don't have any way of proving it anyway. At the end of the day, it's still just a theory. But I think if we think about it hard enough, we could come up with a really good theory. What about the large magnet at the moon's south pole? Yeah, that's very telling, right? That's telling you a story. Everything has a story to tell, you know? It's just interpreting the story, right? Oh, there's the super chat. My core Moni, $2. Tell us what you feel. Well, about the orbs or the moon? Or both? It's an antenna. Yes, Kenny, it's an antenna. Thank you very much, Mike Commodi, for the super chat. Love the color. And as promised, I'll tell you what I think it is. I think two things. I think the moon is the Earth's binary star. Okay? Because it does shine bright in the nighttime sky. Now, is it its own light source now? No. But it used to be. This is just how I think. I think it used to be its own light source. I think, and I use this term just loosely, I think the moon is an old star bone. It's an old star core. That's what's left of the star. It's exhausted all of its fuel, every bit of it. And it's got lots of holes all over it. And we're told that, oh, that's from cosmic bombardment, the asteroids just pelted the moon. And then some of them probably did. Reality Check VIP, thank you for the super chat. What are your thoughts on the large metal mass on the moon's south pole? Well, if it once contained heavy elements, it goes back to my theory that at one time in its life, the moon was a small star. And it's the Earth's binary star. And what's left of it is what we see. This, like, more or less a burned out cinder. That's all that's left. It still has magnetism, yeah. Has elements that have dropped to the bottom in the South Pole. The South Pole is extremely cold because it still has a little bit of residual gas. Yeah, that's down at the bottom. So I think it's a star remnant. It's way too big to be a moon anyway. Way too big, especially for the size of the Earth. So I think it's the Earth's binary star, or it's the other way around. Are we the moon's binary star? I don't know. Those are just my thoughts. I think it's an old star bone. Thank you for the super chat. Really appreciate that. Camouflaged moon. The Chinese have been studying the moon for many, many years. Yes, they have. I know the moon is an enigma. I agree with you, Kabuki Theater. That's why I haven't dove down that rabbit hole too deep enough to come up with a conclusion that the moon's just an old star bone. Yes, it's got a little bit of horsepower left. That's how it influences the Earth. It has to have horsepower. But to be stuck like it is, and we only see, one aspect of the moon our entire lives. And in my lifetime, we took a trip to the moon and spent a lot of resources and time. I know a lot of people think that the moon landing was all fake, and I just think they went to a lot of trouble to just say, hey, we faked you out, ha. Why even bother, So I do believe they did go. I do. It's just, what's the bigger mystery is why didn't they go back? I don't think they liked what they saw, to be honest with you, and it told them a little bit more about the Earth. K. Dean, super chat. Thank you, K. Dean. Thoughts on why the moon's same side faces us all the time? Excellent question, K. Dean. Thank you for the super chat. And that's one of the reasons I didn't jump down that moon rabbit hole too deep, because of that very question you just asked right there. Why does the moon maintain the same position with regard to the Earth infinitely? It never changes a centimeter. How is that even possible? And it does have energy. That's why the South Pole is so cold. Yes, it has energy. Thanks again for the super chat. Really appreciate that. Keep the colors coming, guys. I like to see the color in the chat. Color that chat up. You guys are awesome. Thank you. But that's an excellent question. And that's one that I really can't come to an answer on. I do think the moon is a burned out star. It's exhausted all of its fuel. And if you were to come up on another star somewhere in let's just say the Milky Way galaxy, that's exhausted all of its fuel and it has none left to burn, it would look a lot like the moon. Obviously, it's going to be a different size, maybe smaller, maybe bigger, but it's going to look a lot like the moon. It's out of fuel. It's out of gas. But the poles are going to be very, very cold because that's what's left of the gas. It no longer is a source of direct light. Yeah, that's what I think it is. But I can't figure out, like you just asked, how does it always stay just like that? Orbits the Earth and it's moving, right? It's moving. But it never veers 1 centimeter off of its axis. I can't wrap my mind around that, to satisfy like, I think the moon's a burned out star. I really do. So I can put that over to the side, move on to something else. But I'm sitting here really racking my brain to figure out how that moon is just It never rotates one little bit. That seems unnatural, you know what I mean? It just doesn't seem natural. But it is what it is. But I think a bigger mystery with the moon and our efforts to understand the moon back in the 60s and 70s is the bigger mystery is why didn't they go back? Yeah, that was a pretty amazing feat considering the technology advancements back in the 60s and 70s weren't that great, but they managed to somehow pull it off. And I think they did a great job. And I don't think they would have went to all that trouble for what 10 or 12 years in the 60s and 70s just to fake us out. I can't. I don't know. I just can't. I don't know. I just can't see them going to all that trouble just to fake us out. I just don't know why they didn't go back. Color, color, color. The meteor that will kill the lizards trapped after an explosion. Solar wind. That's another thing, you know, the sun. Back to the sun, and back what I started the live stream with is the very fact that we don't understand a lot of things about the Earth, the moon, the sun, Jupiter, the solar system, and things like that. I think Jupiter, you know, was something other than what we're told. I think Saturn was something other than what we're told. I think Neptune, Uranus are something entirely different. You know what I mean? Venus, it's obviously in a state of high ambition right now. I think it was or is something totally different than what we're told. But the sun, how do we know exactly what the sun's going to do tomorrow? We have an idea based off of what it's done today, what it's going to do tomorrow. But let's say 10 years down the road, and let's say somebody has the instrumentation to calibrate how much helium's being burned and how much hydrogen is left. And there's a lot of hydrogen left, but helium may be getting sparse in places, you know, and the magnetic polarity of the various. Holy cow, there's another big yellow banner. My goodness, that's a big question, Carrie. Thank you for the super chat. There's another one. Holy moly, you guys are lighting it up. Okay, I got to slow this down. You guys are getting ahead of me here. Keep them coming. I'll keep up. Don't worry about that. Let's start off with Cena Annie. Nice super chat. Thank you. First, Christ is my ascended master, but there are others. Rig Veda mentions Vimanas, right? Vimanas, India. I feel the moon is a base brought here by others. We did go to Mars in the 50s. You know what? I totally have heard that too from a very, very smart man. Thank you for sharing that. We did go to Mars back in the 50s, and that's exactly what he told me. And this man was in the military before I was born. Very wise man. His name was John. He lived in Minnesota. I learned a lot from him. That's where I used to get some of my information, just so you know. Dr. Sala has proof. Your thoughts? I believe it 100%. Thank you for the super chat, Cena. I'm totally on board with you there. I learned from a very smart man that learned when he was in the military in 1952 that we had been to Mars. Yes. So I'm totally on board with that. I still talk about it a lot. A lot of people don't seem to be interested in Mars too much, but yeah, we've been to Mars, absolutely. And maybe that's why we didn't go back to the moon. Thank you again for the super chat. That was really cool. Medellin Media Worldwide. I got to get to, there we go, right there. Made in Media World. Okay, I just want to make sure I get that correct. Thank you for the really beautiful red color. Appreciate that. That's awesome. I emailed you a few days ago. It's videos of orbs crafts I've been seeing since November of 2024. That is a very important month and year. Something happened in November of 2024. I've literally taken hundreds of videos. Cleveland is a hot spot. Ohio is a hot spot of weird things in the sky. It started around the same time. New Jersey, we're seeing the drones. You're right, made in the media world. And I go through the Dropbox and email every morning, and I have quite a few orbs over here sitting on my desktop, some that I've worked and some that I haven't worked. And I'm very particular before I share them with you guys on the internet. I want them just right. I like to go through and modify the videos to pull forward any possible features that may be there. Those of you guys that have watched my videos know that I do put a lot of work in these videos. So I have them. I'm sure I do. I will double check and make sure. But you are 100% correct. Cleveland, Ohio is a hot spot. And I know that from all of the emails that I get from people like Made in Media World is from Cleveland. He's got neighbors in Cleveland that he doesn't know that have also sent me pictures of orbs, flashing lights, and not only Cleveland, Cincinnati, Toledo, rural Ohio. Ohio is a hot spot of activity right now. Ohio, Tennessee, Indiana, for some reason, that area right there is a hot spot for flashing lights, especially Memphis. It started out hot and heavy in Memphis. Once again, thank you for the super chat. That is so cool. And I'll double check on the emails and make sure I've got them all. But I do have some videos right over here to my right. They're already ready to go. I just finished them yesterday. And they're of these mysterious orbs in the nighttime sky. And I've got more that I'm working on. I keep them in a folder all by themselves. And I'm sure yours is in there. Thank you so much for sharing those. I greatly appreciate it. And they will be featured here soon. If I haven't already featured them, I usually feature orbs probably once a week, it seems like. I get a lot of orbs. Obviously, I've been getting a lot of flashing lights. And you're right, back in October, November, into December was the big drone episodes that occurred along the East Coast primarily. But yeah, there was a lot of drone activity back then. I think that was kind of, figured out, but I know the activity slowed down exponentially. But the flashing lights have not slowed down. So thanks for the super chat. Made in Media World. Very, very cool. Great color. Appreciate that. Birthday 12/31. You're welcome, Watchwoman of the Dragon. My pleasure. Yeah. Yeah, I get orbs all the time from people all over the world. And you know what? One thing I've noticed that sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes when I get orbs from, say, Cleveland, Ohio, I may get multiple people from Cleveland, Ohio that, again, don't know each other, that will share things with me on the same day from the same night before they saw something in the sky. And I'll get them from various locations in other parts of the world, say France, South Africa. I've got orbs to share with you guys from Australia, New Zealand. And sometimes they align on the same day. It's weird. I can view the world through a lens over here from viewers, from people that share things with me, and then I can connect dots, like, oh wow, on the 29th, there were 6 people that saw the same type of orb in various locations around the world, just a few hours apart, but they live 6,000 miles apart. So, is it the same orb or orbs? Where did they come from? I see the world like that every day from sitting right here at this laptop. So it kind of gives me a different perspective of the big picture, because I'm able to see the big picture sometimes. And it goes back to these flashing lights. I can see the big picture. I get it, if you got this cat showing you flickering, flashing lights all the time, you're going to think, okay, what's up with this guy? Well, I see the big picture. I see it happening all around the world on the same day. Some days more than others. So that tells me there's fluctuations in something. I'm come to the conclusion that it's something creating an electromagnetic pulse that's creating dirty electricity. whether it originates from the wind turbines that are maybe producing dirty electricity because they're getting it from the atmosphere and it's contaminating their electricity, that's contaminating the grids, that's contaminating light switches. But then I have to look at the prospect of why are we seeing cars that are malfunctioning? Headlights, taillights, brake lights malfunctioning and people aren't touching their brakes. So then that takes me, okay, well, this isn't a grid thing. What is it? It's got to be something natural that's creating a natural EMP that's attaching itself to current carriers, electrical current carriers that are contaminating light bulbs. And the light bulbs are trying to tell us in a certain way. And some people have theorized that, well, maybe it's a form of Morse code. I mean, I'm on board with it does look like it sometimes, the pulses can be erratic. Sometimes they're exactly the same. But I don't know if I'm on board with the whole Morse code thing, but yeah, sometimes the flashing is faster than others. So I don't know. It's still a mystery, but I'm 100% sure, at least 99.9% sure that it's from an EMP. Where's this EMP coming from? Is it man-made? Is it coming from the Earth? Does it have something to do with the sun and solar maximum? Is there something else out there that we don't know about? Coming from the moon? Is the moon acting up? I don't know. It could be a whole wide variety of things. Thank you. That was media. Made in Media Worldwide. That was really cool. Thank you so much for the super chat. Man, that was the biggest one today. Thank you. Really appreciate that. That was very kind and very cool. Like the big red banner. Let's go. Yeah, it goes much deeper than that. There's so much going on, like I'd mentioned earlier. It's a man or a woman can dedicate their entire lives to studying the Earth and the various aspects of the Earth. And you can pick one topic. Biology, marine biology, astrophysics, geophysics, or whatever the case may be. You can spend your whole life studying it, and just about the time you think you got it all figured out, you realize you don't. Because this thing it's constantly changing. Life is constantly changing. The Earth is constantly changing. I mean, the Earth, in my opinion, is a living organism. It's got, the water is constantly flowing around the Earth. It's a form of energy. It's got frequencies, and it's alive. The Earth is alive. I think the moon used to be alive, and maybe it still is. Maybe it still is. We just don't know about it because we've never been back. And we could easily get there today. If you look at all the Starlink satellites that are orbiting the Earth just right now, and all the rockets that have been sent up into space, just in, say, the month of June, how many times could they have gone to the moon? They can re-land these rockets on the surface of the Earth. Yo, there's another one made in Media World. Thank you again. Of course, man, you've got a loyal viewer here. Oh, that's super kind. I really appreciate that. And I appreciate the super chat. I definitely watch every day. You have posted a few of my videos this year. I have videos of the orbs turning into drones, crafts, sounds. I believe you. Trust me. Made in Media World, thank you again for the super chat. I love seeing that color bounce around through there. And you're exactly right. The bottom line is this. Made in Media World, truth is stranger than fiction. It really is. There's Nicole. Look at got more color in here. Nicole, the Stepford wife. Nicole here from Ellijay, Georgia. Nicole, I just did one of your videos, I think. And the kitchen lights. Let me see, going crazy. Yes, you did. I remember because I remember the name Ellijay. That's a unique name. Nicole from Ellijay. I got you. I've gotten a few of your videos, Nicole. You're very alert. And the kitchen lights going crazy I sent you. Yes, you did. Well, my BF was coming up the hill and said the radio and lights went crazy in the car the same time mine were. Oh, cool. Thank you for sharing that, Nicole. Thank you for the super chat. That could be something unique to Ellijay in your area. There could have been a disturbance in your area. More than likely, you guys weren't the only one that noticed it. You're probably more alert than your neighbors and the people in your area. But that kind of gives more credence to the theory that this could be some form of an electromagnetic frequency issue, whether it be natural or man-made, because you guys noticed it in your location on the same night in 2 different locations, in your car and in your kitchen. Very cool. Thanks for sharing that, Nicole. I appreciate that. Nicole from LJ, Georgia. I've used several of hers. Made in Media Worldwide. They're very alert people, just like all you guys in the chat here. You guys are alert, you're curious, you're wide awake, you're on the ball, you want to know what's going on, you want to know what's coming, you want to know what the sun's going to be doing, the earth's going to be doing, and we're on it. We're going to watch it like a hawk, like we have for many, many years. I never get tired of it. Never get tired of it. They might use nanonectology. What do you think about bogosphere? I don't know. Okay, JC, I need a professional analyzer. Well, send it in. I'll analyze it for you. Send it to reports@mrmbb333.com. Thank you guys for the super chats. Those are fun. I really appreciate that. Keep them coming. Light it up. Red, yellow, blue. Red, yellow, blue. Yeah, send your videos to reports@mrmbb333.com. Yeah, I analyze videos. That's what I do in this office. I'll use not only this monitor, that one behind me. Got one over here that helps I convert a lot of times, like in Nicole's case from LJ, Made in Media World. I'll convert their videos to 4K format. I have the ability to do that sometimes, not all the time. It depends on the format that I receive it in. If I receive it in at least 1080 format, then I can convert it up to 4K format. Sometimes even better. It just depends. Now, if I receive the video in 720, it's going to be a little hard. I can get it to in most cases, 1080. But to get it to 4K, it's very, very tough. The work that I did for Ancient Aliens, I managed to get all of those videos into 4K. In fact, the new episode of Ancient Aliens that I'm going to be in, it starts, I believe, this fall. And you'll see myself. I'll be sitting on this side. In fact, we use this laptop right here. This laptop that I'm doing this live stream on. You're going to see this laptop in the episode. Well, actually, no, this laptop was used, but it was underneath the desk. So you won't be able to see it. You'll be able to see a monitor a little smaller than that. Me and Travis and I were sitting in front of this monitor analyzing the videos that I made here at this desk on this laptop. And I did convert them to 4K format. And I'll be sitting on the left-hand side of the desk. Travis will be sitting on the right-hand side of the desk. And we'll be analyzing various videos from different parts of the world. And I analyze them here at home. And then he and I put our minds together and look at them. We're looking for different things and stuff like that. It'll be a cool episode. You guys will like it. It's on the History Channel's Ancient Aliens. So check it out. Yeah, we got another episode coming up in, I want to say September. Yeah, you have to check it out, guys. It's really cool. Oh, Dawn has seen the sun pulsating with your naked eyes. Holy cow. Be careful doing that, Dawn. Oh, thank you, Gwendolyn. Ancient Aliens, loved you. Thank you, appreciate that. Yeah, we've got a new episode coming up here in a couple of months, probably. Yeah. Travis, if you guys have ever seen, I think it's called The Mysteries of Skinwalker Ranch. Travis Taylor, that's the guy's name. He's a really nice guy, very smart guy, obviously. He's up at Skinwalker trying to solve the mysteries up there. In fact, he does a show. They're on season 5, I think, something like that. So yeah, we met in Los Angeles. Travis came in for a couple of days. We did our episode, and then I think he left to go do the Skinwalker Ranch. They're up there with all kinds of instrumentation, and you know what? Something that's going on up there. In fact, I've got an antenna array right down there that was made by a NASA scientist. Yeah, that's about all I'll say. It can detect electromagnetic anomalies. I need to get it up. So I need to get it out and get it active. It's the problem with it's the software. It's not the antenna. It's the software. That's the only thing that's holding me back from using it. Yeah, I can set it up. That's no problem. It's in a box right over there, and that's how it was shipped to me. And it's got probably 100 pieces, but that's no problem either at all. It's very self-explanatory with directions, and it detects electromagnetic anomalies, but it's the software. The software is all outdated, so I need a software engineer to kind of update the software with that. But ancient. Oh, there's another one. Look at the color coming in with media. Crystal Marvin. Thank you, Crystal. Appreciate the super chat. Really cool. Like to see the color in there. Keep it coming, guys. But yeah, I got an antenna right down there that I was going to give to Travis to take up to Skinwalker Ranch. So this thing can work 24 hours a day for them, and they can move it around different parts of the ranch because it's many acres. And hook up the software if you can find the right software, and it'll monitor the environment for electromagnetic anomalies. Yeah, this was an antenna that was built by a NASA scientist a few years ago, in fact. T. Luke, you'd like to see it? Why not? I can show you the booklet. Here we go. And the rest of it, where you at? T. Joe, are you still here, buddy? This is one of the features. Here's another feature. This is the hardware. And here it is. That was made by a NASA. Yeah, developed for NASA by Radio Joe. Developed for NASA. There it is. And you just set that up. And there you go. That's it. It's right over there in that box. I believe it came out of Tennessee. I believe so. But if you can get the software to work, you're in business, man. Always love your, how you say anomaly. Thank you, Jed. Have you ever worked with, no, I haven't. Reality check. No, I have not. But if you want to know something, go to the chat. Mike, you were a narrator. Yeah, Shanna, I was. And we've got a new episode of Ancient Aliens coming out September? Yeah, September, whenever they start the fall season. New episode of Ancient Aliens on the History Channel. Good guys and gals, I will say that. They're very, very nice people. Their production crew. Yep. Yep, very nice people. Very nice, very humble. Got a little storm activity brewing, but it's not going to affect anybody as far as, land. You can see it right back here. See it right there? That's Flossie. Who names these storms? Flossie? Really? I mean, it's all good. I know they just go through the alphabet, but that's Tropical Storm Flossie right there. But it's going to stay away from land. That's in the Eastern Pacific. It's going to look at the names of the other storms here. It's going to be a busy hurricane season, guys. Should be. Okay, we might see Andrea, or not, I'm sorry, Chantal in the northern Gulf maybe by this time next week, but the chances are slim. But maybe. But again, like everything else, the weather is always changing and probably won't materialize. But this year we have Chantal, Dexter, Aaron, Fernand, Gabrielle, Humberto. We had Humberto. When was Humberto? We had Humberto back in 20. I don't remember, 2020 or something like that. So, yeah, I think it's going to be an exceptionally busy hurricane season. You bet. Let me put it to you this way. Now, maybe it's just a coincidence, but I don't necessarily believe in coincidences. Let's see how the chat will figure it out. What happened in 2017 that happened again in 2025? And 2017, we saw one of the wildest hurricane seasons we had seen in a long, long time. Now, something again, the same thing happened in 2025. Will we see another off the rails hurricane season in 2025? Let's just see. Let's just see. But anyway, coming up, we got Humberto, Imelda, which Humberto might have been in 2017. I don't know. They retire the name if it becomes a retired storm. So, like, my name, for instance, is retired. Hurricane Michael in 2018. I believe Laura is retired. Obviously, Katrina. Unfortunately, they're associated with bad things because they were big, gnarly storms. But Humberto wasn't a big major hurricane. It was a hurricane, but I don't think it was more than a Category 1 or 2. Imelda, Jerry, Karen, Lorenzo, Melissa, Nestor, Olga. Olga, that sounds familiar. I think we've had Olga before. Pablo, Rebecca, Sebastian, Tanya, Van, and Wendy. So Cristobal, that's next year. I know we've had Cristobal. I remember that one. Bertha. And you know, the ones that are usually the most intense are the ones that are in that H, I, J, and K. And L and M. H, I, J, K, L, and M. And it's because those letters fall right at the peak of hurricane season. So it kind of stands to reason. It's no coincidence. See? It's not a coincidence. That's why it happens like that. Yes, sir. David. Ah, there you go. M. Ellie. Thank you, M. Ellie. You are correct. You are absolutely correct. So we'll see if that happens again, then we'll know it wasn't a coincidence, was it? Yeah. Just being observant, that's all. Just being observant. Yep. Oh, yeah, Travis. Yeah, Travis is a cool guy. I like Travis, Brandy. Travis, yeah, he's a very smart guy. He's a real rocket scientist, so they say. Mm-hmm. Yeah, 2017 was historic hurricane season. 2017. Here's the thing. I took a lot of heat in 2017. I was on the job in 2017. I was following my hurricane software, and I used several. Plus, I have my own. And we hadn't had a big, strong hurricane in several years. In fact, it had been very quiet until 2017. So, but I still watch it because after being in 4 hurricanes, I was very intrigued by these things. So I had to figure out how they work. And I do have an understanding how they work, what type of environments they like, and I just kind of have a knack. I am a hurricane hunter. That's one of the things that that I became pretty good at. I've done it so many years. If you do anything so many years in a row, you're going to get halfway good at it. I don't care if it's playing tiddlywinks. You're going to get good at it. So anyway, I'm a hurricane hunter. Well, I was following hurricanes in 2017, and I saw one come off the west coast of Africa way over here. Okay, I saw an area that looked interesting. You know, it was a disturbance. And I looked at its path, which was 4,000 miles away from America, the Caribbean, and all that, you know, and I'm like, if that does materialize, there's nothing in its way. There was no Sahara sand, Sahara dust. There was no wind shear. Now, wind shear can change, especially in 4,000 miles, right? But at the time, it had a runway all the way to the Caribbean, nonstop. And I'm like, wow, that's the first time I'd seen that in a while. So I put up a video in 2017, and that next named storm in line was Hurricane Irma. So I just put up a video. If I'm looking at this correctly, and I knew it was, but I knew things could change. But I said we could possibly see in my video a Category 5 hurricane form in about 5 days. Oh, man. I got attacked. I got attacked by a guy, Jim Cantori. Y'all have heard of him. He said I was irresponsible for putting something like that up right after I did it. He said, we haven't had a Category 5 hurricane out there in 10 years. This guy should be ashamed of himself. And I'm like, dang, dude, I'm just on the job here. I'm doing my job. Why aren't you doing your job? Another, yeah. So I'm like, well, you're the one that should be doing this job. I'm over here on YouTube giving people a heads up that there could be a Category 5 because conditions were more than favorable, right? But he didn't see it? And he's the ace weatherman? Okay, ace. Well, 5 days later, ace, there was a Category 5 out there. First one in 10 years. And who found it? A guy on YouTube. Oh, man. After that, I mean, I got bombarded with people, you know, that for whatever reason, I helped. I also got an email from a man that said, sir, thank you for giving me the heads up. I saw your video on YouTube because nobody else was talking about it. And he moved his mother, who was on a very small island right down here, south of Puerto Rico in the Virgin Islands. He moved his mother off of that island in anticipation of this Category 5 because he could tell in my voice that I felt pretty confident that there was going to be a big storm. I didn't know it was going to be that big, but it was an overachiever. And that's what I call those things, overachievers. And people that were in it said it was a Category 6. But anyway, he said it saved his mother's life because the island flooded and took on a lot of damage. And he thanked me for it. And I'm like, I'm very humbled, and that's nice to know. I'm glad I could help. But the ace weatherman should have been the guy telling people, but a guy on YouTube did. And that video got like over 1 million views. It got to a lot of people, you know, and it helped people. But what's weird is since then, you know, I'll do weather videos. And that's why you haven't seen me do them a lot recently, even though I'm a hurricane hunter. That's what I do when it's hurricane season. Back then in 2017, I would do a video about a hurricane or the possibility of a hurricane. And, you know, the videos were well received. They went to a wide audience, you know. Now I'll put up a video about a hurricane and it just seems like it just flounders. It doesn't go anywhere. So I'm still going to do them this year because if I can make a difference in one person's life, it was time well spent. Crystal Marvin, he couldn't do his job because he had a... Oh, I see. Yeah, right, Crystal. Yeah, I mean, you know, he's putting me down, saying I'm irresponsible when in all reality, what an oxymoron. He was the one that was being irresponsible by not telling y'all that, hey, I'm the ace weatherman over here and there could be a Category 5. Could be. You use the word could. There could be, because conditions were favorable, Crystal. And I saw that from my laptop, this laptop right over here. Not this one. This one. I even know which laptop I was on. I have multiple softwares I use. I cross-reference all my sources plus my own that I use before I come on YouTube and say anything. And if they don't agree, I won't say anything, because I don't want to give people wrong information. I didn't want that man to move his mother off of that island if it wasn't necessary. But I felt like it was necessary, and I'm glad he did. I felt like it was at least necessary to relay the information. Yeah, I felt like it was important information. A Category 5 is no joke. And I've been in 4 hurricanes, and I wasn't in a Category 5. I can't even imagine. I was in a Category 2, was the strongest I was in. But yeah, Hurricane Irma was one for the record books. That was no joke. Yeah, that was no joke. So yeah, I wasn't the one being irresponsible. I think I was the only one at the time being responsible. I was paying attention to what was going on. So I'll be doing them again this year, and they won't get recommended just like they have it. I don't care. I'm not pouting. It's just the way it is. But I'll still do them. And if I can make a difference in one person's life, then that's all that matters. Thank you so much for the super chat. I really appreciate that. That means a lot, putting that color in there. Thank you, Crystal. There's a lot of colorful hearts. Very, very cool. I think he's a professional analyzer. Yeah, I do too, Terry. I don't think he's a TV personality. He's not a hurricane hunter. I've seen many storms that materialized into major hurricanes, and Hurricane Michael was one of them. I saw Hurricane Michael forming in the North Caribbean, 2018. And I remember as it was forming, it was a Category 1. And I was looking at the path that it was potentially going to. I was looking at its surrounding environment, because that determines what's going to allow it to strengthen is its surrounding environment. There was no dry air. There was no wind shear. The water was like bathtub water. So it had everything to its advantage. And they're finicky. They don't like the slightest bit of wind shear. They like to operate vertical, straight up and down. That's what makes them strong. Well, this one had sky's the limit. And Hurricane Michael went from a Cat 1 to a Cat 5 in less than 36 hours. It was a true overachiever and made landfall in the Florida Panhandle in Mexico, Florida. And they're still, I think, putting the pieces back together to this day. But that was one, too, that I saw, and I said it's going to be an overachiever, or I said it could have the potential to be an overachiever. So I could tell how tall it was getting. So you can tell when it's reflecting sunlight, when a hurricane top is reflecting sunlight during the day, you need to get out of the way of that thing, because it's got nothing to stop it from getting stronger and stronger and stronger. So yeah, I do analyze the maps and track these storms, and because it means something to me, because I've been in 4 of these things, and at the time the technology wasn't what it is today. It was kind of a guessing game. One of the hurricanes I was in, they said, oh yeah, it's going to make landfall in Tampa. And I didn't think it was going to, but I'm like, well, that's what they're saying. They've been saying all along. Well, it didn't make landfall in Tampa. It made landfall 150 miles to the south. And everybody that moved inland from Tampa took on a bunch of damage, at least with their vehicles, Like this one person said, wow, if I'd have just stayed in Tampa, my car wouldn't have had this tree fall on it, because where I was at in Central Florida, there was a lot of damage because there hadn't been a hurricane in there in over 20 years. So the trees were all overgrown and a lot of vegetation. And in Florida's known for screened-in back patios that cover their swimming pools for a variety of reasons. 2 of the main ones, to keep alligators out and to keep mosquitoes out. And oh my God, there were thousands of those enclosures that were just pushed out to the roadside, to be picked up because the hurricanes tore up so many of those. There was a lot of damage. I had friends that didn't have power for over a month. I had some that didn't have power for a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, month, and beyond. I saw the chaos that it created firsthand. I saw people fighting at a gas station over a generator. A guy walked up to a pickup truck and just literally tried to help himself to a generator a man had in the back of his truck. Because this one gas station, once they got the power back on, they were able to pump gas. And he put gas in his generator. And then some guy tried to take it out of his truck. I mean, it was very chaotic. If you weren't prepared, you wished you were, you know, the people that, and a lot of people weren't because they were going based off of the forecast that said it's going to make landfall in Tampa, so it should have missed where we were at in Central Florida. Instead, it made a beeline right towards us. It went right over my head, and I remember standing outside at night. It was like 11:30 at night, and once the hurricane went, or maybe around 10:30, it went over my head. I could see the inner core because I could see stars, and then I saw the backside. And the windows were bowing on the back sliding glass doors, an 8-foot slider. The windows were woo, woo. Well, I mean, it was quite a storm that far inland. And from that moment on, that's when I became a hurricane hunter. Because I had to learn how these things worked. Because I saw firsthand the damage, the destruction, the chaos that a Cat 2 caused. Cat 2! Cat 5 making landfall at the coast? You don't want to be anywhere near it. You really don't. So that's when I became a hurricane hunter. 2004. I've been doing it ever since. So yeah. Quite a mess. And the people that didn't have power the longest were the people that were in the subdivisions that had above ground power lines. Where I stayed, my power was underground. So I lost power for maybe 15 seconds. And I don't even know why it did that. It just kind of glitched, went off for maybe 15, 10 seconds, and then came right back on. So, you know, I was lucky I didn't lose power, but I was prepared with a little bit of non-perishable foods because I thought the power was going to go out, you know. Once I saw that it did make a right-hand turn and was coming right at us, we had about 24 hours, you know, to get ready. It's like, holy cow. Now the software and you know, guys like me, I've trained myself. I know what to look for. I know where it's going to go 3 or 4 days in advance. Can it change a little bit? Of course, yeah, of course it can. But I can have a pretty good idea about 4 days out within 20, 25 miles where it's going to make landfall. Back then, there was a 150-mile discrepancy. So that was a big deal. But anyway, I saw the chaos, man. It's real. Couldn't get cash, you know. If you didn't have a little cash at home, you weren't getting anything if there wasn't any power. And even if they didn't have power and people were selling, you know, things in the dark, you had to have cash. They didn't have no way to use a credit card. If you had $5, you could get you a case of water. And yes, they were price gouging. Yes, of course they were. But quite a fiasco. So it's best to prepare and not need it than to not be prepared and need it because it can be a very chaotic scene. I cannot imagine being in the middle of a Category 5 and thinking it's going to be okay the next day. No, it's not. No, it's not. I've seen what a Cat 2 can do. They are no joke. So, yeah, right on, guys. Thanks for all the super chats. I really appreciate that. Florida's going to probably see a lot of activity this year. Absolutely, I think so, guys. July 4th, be prepared. Is there a CME coming to hit Earth? No, Zilrin, there isn't. There's a... Let me see if it's still coming. I don't even think it's still coming. There was one that was... It was the tail end of a CME that went towards... the Stereo Ahead spacecraft, which is in front of the Earth. It was a small CME that, right now, looking at the Parker Spiral, nah. What's on July 4th, guys? Is there... Okay, I'm looking 28th, 29th. Okay, there is a small one coming that'll be here the 2nd. Should see a little increase in the density, but not much, guys. I'm just being honest with you. You know, I can hype it up and sit here and say, oh my God. No, I'm not going to do that because then you won't ever believe. When I said there was going to be a super halo on the first minute, and there was a 70 plus hour geomagnetic storm associated with that. This thing here, no. I'm just being honest with you. Yeah, there's going to be a CME come towards the Earth, and it's going to arrive sometime on July 2nd, more than likely during the overnight hours. Is it going to be a big deal? No. No, it's not. I'll let you know when there's going to be a big deal, because trust me, I'm watching. I'm waiting. There's going to be a big deal. You bet there is. Is this it? Of course not. Holy moly, Julie Heron, thank you so much for the super chat. Wow. That's become my favorite color today. Way to go. Thank you, Julie. Oh, and we've got the teal pair. Nice. I think that's was that a super sticker? Very cool. That's the first pair we've seen today. Thank you, Julie. Good for you. Yeah, back to the CME. No, it's not going to be a big deal, guys. Thanks again, Julie. Really appreciate the super chat. The solar wind is supposed to pick up to... I mean, we see this all the time. 20... velocity is not even supposed to be that much. In fact, the velocity associated with this thing is going to be below 400. We're looking at solar wind speed right now, probably 400, without even dealing with a CME. Yeah, 435. Right now, on a normal day with no CME, the solar wind speed is 435. So that CME that's coming towards the Earth could potentially raise the velocity to 450. It's not going to do anything, guys. So, Valeria the Mac. All right. Thank you, Julie. Yay, Julie. Julie rocks. Thank you, Julie. Yeah, you got to be careful, you guys, getting some information out there that's not entirely true when it comes to these CMEs and solar storms. Yes, it can be a CME, but not Earth-facing. Yeah, I'd like to chase some solar storms too. Yeah, I took a class on that years ago. Can story. Yeah, he said I was irresponsible. Isn't that something? July 7th. Somebody said something about July 4th. No, I'm not going to promote fear. It is what it is, guys. If it's a little scary, you know, it's just part of the universe. The universe, the stars and supernovas are very violent. They're very strong. It's just the nature of where we live. But and so is our sun. Our sun is very active sometimes. Thanks again, Julie Heron, for the very cool dancing pair. I love it. Look at him. Yes, sir. Thank you. What we got going on here? There we go. But no, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that it's a super halo, and it's not. The last time I said a super halo's coming, that was on June 1st, and we had a 72-hour geomagnetic storm. But I kind of knew it was coming. Yeah. I knew it was coming, guys, so that's why I said that. Those of you that follow me and have followed me for years, you know I've never once, in all the years that I've done this, ever used the term super halo. And neither has anybody else. I used it that day, and I used it that day for a reason. That's the only time I've used it in my whole life, was that time. And it was an overachiever. It produced a 70 plus hour geomagnetic storm, which is unheard of. So will that happen again? Of course it will. Of course, it's going to happen again. Exactly when depends on a lot of things. And one thing, it depends on the stability and the destabilization of the surface of the sun. You know, the hydrogen-helium ratios and things like that. Where the magnetism is beta, gamma, delta. It's got to have delta magnetics in order to have an X-class solar flare. But just because, and I've seen people do it, and I've seen you people in this chat mention this person's name, which tells me that they're not necessarily as educated in the solar flare world and CME world as they'd like to claim they are. Because they gave you information following a solar flare that was Earth directed and told you that it was coming, but you can't do that with even an X-class solar flare. You can't jump the gun just because there was an Earth directed X-class flare, because not everyone has a CME. And not only did that one not have a CME, there was an X flare 24 hours later that also didn't have a CME. So a rookie would make that mistake. Yeah, I did it years ago until I knew better. Now I know better. You have to wait to confirm. Okay, we know we've got an X flare, but we can't just get on YouTube and scream, hey, it's coming, there's an X flare. Okay, well, we had an X flare. We got to wait. We got to wait and see. We don't know if it's produced a CME. Who cares about the X flare? What came off the surface of the sun? That's what we got to focus on. So, got the cart way before the horse. So just be aware of that, guys. That's all. Just because there's an X flare doesn't mean there's going to be a CME. I've seen it many, many times. That's how I learned, by looking foolish years ago, because I got the cart before the horse. I've learned since then. Yeah, you learn from those things. Wow, the Schumann's really active today. I'll show you guys. Let me refresh the page real quick. I want to thank everybody for the super chats. I like seeing that color come through there. Speaking of color, see the Schumann? That's right now. Man, it is surging right now. Woo! That is high energy. I'll leave that up for a second. There's a lot of people that are very sensitive to the fluctuations in the frequency of the Earth. I remember I did a study many years ago on the effects of a coronal hole. And in fact, I'll show you a coronal hole real quick right here. I think, yeah. That's a coronal hole right there. That's raw star power coming off the surface of the sun unchallenged. And that unfiltered, unchallenged power coming off the surface of the sun does interact with the Earth, and it can cause geomagnetic storms without a solar flare or a CME. That's pure star power. So, like the Schumann, what I did, I attempted, but I'm just one guy. I tried to do a study. I did do a study, but it would take a small army. I was trying to, and I went through YouTube, and when I saw coronal holes like that one facing the Earth, and even bigger ones, that one's kind of in the southern hemisphere, so more than likely that energy, or at least the biggest part of it's going to miss the Earth, and that's something that you have to factor in. So the ones that were right on the equator and were very large and in charge, and I knew that they were going to affect the Earth, I wanted to know how they affected people. Because I knew the Schumann affected people. I knew that the moon's energy affects people. How does this affect people? Because the sun affects us all. Okay, there's no escaping that. This is a different type of sun power. So how does it affect people? So like I said, I tried to figure out, based off of groups of people, male, female, XY chromosome, your blood type, and then that's a whole nother set of parameters. And then where you live on the Earth. The duration of the CME, how long it interacted with the Earth. There were so many data points that it was impossible for one person to do. But I did write a paper many years ago. It's right here on the homepage of the website. You can see behind me, MrMBB333.com. And this article right here, The Sun and You. I wrote that many years ago. And part of that material came from the study that I did involving coronal holes in humans. And you can also, with the Schumann, you can follow that energy with humans. And like I said earlier, it can affect your sleep patterns. It can affect your mood and choices you make and things like that. So that's an influencer right there. The coronal hole is an influencer. There's things that go on that we can't see, like EMPs that are influencers. The moon's energy, that's an influencer. You, in a sense, are a biological antenna. So am I. You can walk into a room. You guys have heard the old saying, the vibe. I walked into the room and the vibe just felt off or whatever. Or, you walked into a room and the vibe felt great, because you can sense those things. You can feel those things in the human capacity. You have that sense because you are a biological antenna. You send and receive frequencies, Yeah, it's quite fascinating. But we also are sensitive to all those energies of the moon, sun, and the earth, and the earth's core. We can't see the earth's core, so it's hard to factor that into the equation. But you're standing on something that's very powerful. So that energy radiates from the earth all the time, day and night, 24 hours a day. So we absorb that energy, and it affects everybody differently. So yeah, it's quite the fascinating place that we call home, for sure. Vortex man. I knew a guy that I saw somebody mention math there in the chat, that created calculus. Yeah, talk about a smart guy. Holy cow. Grounding. People do grounding. There you go, JB. True. People do grounding to help feel better. 7.83 hertz. That's the Schumann. You're right, buddy. Thank you. Ouch, that hurts. Thank you for the kind words. I appreciate that. Did you know that the Good Witch from Oz arrived in an orb greeting Dorothy? No, well, now that I think about it, I think you're right, yeah. If you could do calibration with someone, who would it be and why? Graham Giles. Oh, a collab? I've thought about that. There's a couple of people that I would like to do a collab with, yeah. Travis, because I've done collabs with him on Ancient Aliens. I like the way Travis thinks. He's very smart, but he's also common sense based, He's a common sense guy. I like that, even though he's very intelligent. He's very smart too. Oh, you made several, T. Luke, you made several garden antennas. Oh yeah, talking about energy leaving the planet. Yeah, it's true, isn't it? Yeah, we live on a ball. We live on a ball of energy, literally, Yep. Ancient flower. Ah, look at you, willow tree. Yeah, I know about that ancient flower, you bet. Cynthia. Thank you, Cynthia. If you want to know, just ask the chat. Right on. There's a couple guys I wouldn't mind collabing with. Absolutely. And you know what? That's one of the things that I've been contemplating on doing, getting the Zoom. And in fact, that's why I'm trying out a different microphone setup today instead of this big bulky one over here. Because I don't have a studio to, invite somebody in and do a collab like that, like a podcast type of thing. But we might. We'll see. We'll see. I'm working on something else too that I'm going to be doing here probably in the next couple of weeks. And this is something that affects all of us, everybody in this chat, myself, my family included. It's just something I just want to talk about. I think it needs to be talked about, It really does. It's not anything good or bad. It's just simply is what it is. Thank you, Ray Bear. Appreciate that. Appreciate the kind words. Thank you for mentioning me. Most never heard about garden antennas. Many will look into it. Thank you, T. Luke. Look into garden antennas. I'll look into it. Yeah, that antenna over there. Thank you for. You're welcome, God's helper. My pleasure. My pleasure. Well, listen, guys, it has been a great day. I've enjoyed spending it with you, and we're going to do this again. I apologize. I had to get a drink and wet my whistle. But the focal point, as I started this video off with, was the sun and what the sun is capable of doing and what it could potentially do in the future. We can make theories and YouTube videos about it, you know, all the time. Just be careful. Some of the information going around, I'm just being honest with you guys. I know we're all drawn to drama and things like that. I get it, you know, I get it. But just don't be making life, you know, changing decisions based off of, you know, something that you see, or because not everybody can be trusted. That's all I can say, and I say that very humbly. I take pride in giving you guys good, solid information, especially, you know, when it comes to the Earth, the sun, hurricanes, solar storms. I touch on a wide variety of things, and I do that because viewers share things with me that they want me to analyze, because over the years, I've evolved into an image analyst. I've done so many. I've done thousands of photos and videos that I've developed a very unique approach. That's why I've done a lot of work for ancient aliens and the South American military. My approach works. And if there's something hiding in the dark, I can pull it out. But just be careful where you get your information. I'll always be honest with you. It may not be the most exciting. Sometimes it is. Just know if I get excited, it's probably going to be a pretty big deal, especially when it comes to hurricanes or solar storms. I am a storm chaser. So just know that. Subscribe to this channel and I'll keep you updated. But as far back to the sun, yeah, the sun is going to shed a layer basically. It basically shed a layer on June 1st. That was a super halo, and it went in a 360-degree orientation, so you could technically say that the sun shed a layer on that day. The next time it does that, it could be bigger. It could be stronger. And if it gets much stronger than that, to where we have a 150-hour geomagnetic storm, which we could, then it could create a lot of drag and affect our way of life. And those are the ones that we really want to watch closely. Life is always a series of changes, peaks and valleys, ups and downs, you know. But Earth is vulnerable, especially today in the technology world. We love our technology. Everybody loves technology, you know. But satellites are very susceptible to solar storms and solar radiation. And then, you know, that's why we watch the UV index, because we're susceptible to that radiation as well. There's a very, very, very thin layer, a thin blue line between us and no us. And it's important to keep a close eye on that. It's called the UV, ultraviolet radiation. I do. I watch it multiple times a week. I don't report on it. So just know, sometimes no news is good news. Just because I'm not doing a UV video every single day doesn't mean I'm not watching it. All right? I keep an eye on it. That's a very important part of who we are. That's our shield, man. Without our shield, there's no we, there's no our, there's nothing. So we have to have our shield. So the sun's getting ready to do something really big. I've got multiple sources telling me this, okay? I'm on board. I've been on board with it. So we're watching things that a lot of people aren't. And a lot of people, we're watching things that a lot of people have never even heard of. So stay tuned. Stick around. If you want to follow this YouTube channel, by all means, that choice is entirely up to you. I am not going to beg you or anybody else to subscribe to this YouTube channel. If you want to come back and check in every once in a while and see what we're talking about, that's great too. But just know there's something big coming. Okay? And is it going to be, total chaos and things like that? It just depends on what the sun does. Because at this point, even with all the technology that we have, we still don't know exactly what the sun is capable of doing. But it's capable of doing something bigger than it did June 1st. And that's coming. It sure is. Probably going to shed another layer or two. But either way, we'll be watching, and hopefully it won't last too long. But that 70-hour plus geomagnetic storm, guys, that was a big deal. So there's bigger deals in the works. I'll keep you guys informed. Just know that. And I want to thank everybody for stopping by today. Seriously, it's been fun. I love the chats. I love seeing your guys' comments and how you think and your way of thinking. I want to thank everybody for the super chats. That's very, very cool and very, very kind. And I want to thank each and every one of you again. So as you can tell, my voice is starting to get a little bit dry. I've been talking for, I don't even know how long. How long has this live stream been going? Doesn't matter. I've had fun. We'll do it again, okay? All right, guys, I'm going to call it a day. God bless. Thanks for stopping by, and I'll talk to you soon. Be safe out there.